Adam, Cain, Esau, Reuben, Lot's daughter, Samson, Hophni, Amnon. Firstborns are not foolish. There is a myth that firstborns are foolish, or firstborns are inadequate, or firstborns have certain weaknesses that limit them. Our people will say, Onubahihi kabelu or Onubahihi kabelu, meaning firstborns are always foolish. In this video, we are going to establish why firstborns behave the way they do. Please stick to this video to the end. Firstborns are the first fruits of every couple. They have never been human before. At times we put our firstborns on a pedestal and we expect them to be superhumans. We say, you are the firstborn, you must do this, you must do that. As parents, we expect so much, but we forget that we ourselves, we are humans. As old as we have weaknesses, we still have our struggles. Firstborns have never been human before. They were once upon egg and sperm until we allow them to be fertilized by our activities. Firstborns are the pioneers, they are the womb openers of their time, and they are learning life on their own terms. Let's give them the benefit of doubt. First of all, I want us to understand what the definition of a firstborn is in the eyes of God. God intends that the seed of the woman should bruise the head of the serpent. If you see where God was laying enmity between the woman and the serpent. So in Genesis chapter 3 verse 15, I read, I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He will bruise your head. He, that is the seed of the woman, will bruise the serpent's head. And you, that is the serpent, will bruise his heel. Okay? So, we understand that God has already put enmity between the seed of the woman and our arch enemy, the devil. Unfortunately, most of the times, when we see our firstborns displaying certain weaknesses, we tend to forget that it could be an attack from the devil. And then we blame it on the person's behavior, on the person's character, and we start saying all sorts of things. Okay, I want us to quickly read Genesis chapter 49, verse 3. Until I understood this verse, I never knew that that is what God has predestined or has envisioned a firstborn child to be. Let's read together. This is Jacob when he was giving blessings to his children. Genesis chapter 49, verse 3 said, Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity and the excellency of power. Wow. So that is how God sees a firstborn. So we can say from God's perspective of the firstborn is the excellency of excellence. Now, I want you to know that Reuben, as the firstborn of Jacob, did not end well. Please, I don't want to read verse 4 of where we read, because from there we saw the negative things that followed. Reuben was the firstborn of Jacob, and he had his own share of his attack from the enemy. You all know that Reuben slept with his father's wife, right? And at this point, everybody was expecting him to be blessed. His father kept quiet until at the time when Reuben will take his inheritance, and he was turned down. That was the first one that didn't end up well. Jacob's or Israel's firstborn son. What about Esau? You see, when Rebecca was pregnant, she was having problems with her pregnancy, and then she went to consult the prophet, and then it was confirmed that two nations are within her. And the prophecy came that the elder will serve the younger. Well, I know there are different aspects to this, right? But I want to believe that if Rebecca had been very sensitive and had worked with that prophecy to make sure that it does not happen, God would have honored her request. You see, at the end of the day, what happened? Jacob collected Esau's birthright, and we know how the struggle of that family came about. Jacob had to run away, the family was devastated and everything. Now, I know the Bible says, I hate Esau and I love Jacob, right? But I believe that God has been fighting for Esau right from time. You see the drama that happened at their birth. Esau's hand came out first, and then the midwife tied a rope. So now we saw that everything God does is right. God does not make mistakes. God still allowed Esau to come out as the firstborn child. I want to believe that even parents, especially mothers, they have a role to make sure that firstborns retain their firstbornships, even spiritually and in the family lineage. Okay, if Rebecca had nurtured Esau very well and reminded him, you are the firstborn child, God allowed you to come out first for a purpose, I believe that this story would have been different. But what did she do? She took side with Jacob because Jacob was a tent dweller and Esau was a man of the field. Please, parents, not every child will wash your feet. Not every child will lie down and put their head on your chest. So we must not accord positions to our children based on what they are doing to us that are beneficial or advantage to us. So we see at the end of the day, Esau lost his inheritance because I want to believe that he was not groomed properly for that firstbornship position. Please, parents will have a role to play. For each firstborn child, we must realize that there is an enemy that is out there to attack the seed of the woman. And we must be sensitive. We must pray for our firstborn children. At this point, if you are watching this video and you love my content, please subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, like this video, and share this content to friends and family to help them.